And it is just 12 noon, so welcome everyone. I'm Priscilla Monti, Senior Vice President for Programs and Communications at the Hampton Roads Chamber. We are thrilled to have you here for our latest edition of Chamber Education. Today we have with you someone who says he's going to give us the best presentation in the history of presentation. Coldon Martin is the Senior Advisor and Creative Director at SIR, full-service marketing firm with offices in Richmond and the 757. Coldon graduated with honors from Virginia Commonwealth University in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in English literature. After graduating, Coldon found Lot 49 Media, the social media marketing team specializing in viral videos for local businesses and nonprofits throughout Virginia. Coldon's work eventually led him to a position at Pulsar Advertising, an advertising agency with offices in RVA, DC, and LA, where he continued developing nimble approaches to video and digital content production. In 2014, Coldon joined the staff at SIR and established in-house video production, website design, and social media marketing programs for clients across a wide variety of industries. And he has graciously agreed to share his expertise with us today on social media marketing, myths, and realities. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Coldon Martin.
Hey everybody, thank you so much. I hope to live up to the best presentation ever. To be honest, I introduce everything I do as the best ever. It's a marketing tactic that I've been pretty successful with, so I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Priscilla. As she mentioned, I work for SIR. We've been around for quite a while, been around the block. We actually were established in 1964 as the Southeastern Institute of Research. Since then, we've done over 15,000 different studies and projects across all of these different sectors. But in the recent years, we've really switched and evolved from just doing research to actually being a full service consultancy. So we do market research, but we also do communications and PR, and we also do a lot of strategic planning. And we have a really big presence here in the 757. Most recently, we were behind the 757 Recovery and Resilience Action Plan, which we worked on with all of these folks, but we've also done individual work for both chambers. We've worked with the Workforce Council, the Virginia Beach City Council, the City of Norfolk. We're almost comically involved in so many elements of your daily life. And so I'm so glad to finally be chatting with you because I'm sure that we might have even crossed paths over the past couple of years. But who am I? I am the creative director and digital marketing strategist at SIR. So I do everything that is really under the marketing and communications realm in terms of content development. So I'm a longtime cinematographer and editor, also do a lot of web design, a lot of social media content these days. Outside of work, I'm a musician of perhaps arguable quality and skill, but I gotta mention it. But the other thing that I'm really passionate about both in work and outside of work is social media advertising. So before we get into it, I just wanna say this is a very, very broad overview. My intention is not to tell you things that you already know, but rather offer you a little bit of perspective. Each one of the things I'm talking about could be its own presentation. So we're going to do sort of a scenic tour, a little 101, if you will. And so if you have anything really specific you want to know, save those questions to the end or just get in touch with me. Before we start, we got to set it up, right? And I'm going to need everybody just to like buckle up and get in the Delorean with me and go back to a very distant time period in the past. Somewhere way, way, way far away from where we are today. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the year 2007, right? Look, the year 2007 is kind of a non-year in many people's eyes. What really happened, I don't really know. But there's one thing that happened that completely changed the world and completely changed the landscape of advertising. Okay. Everybody, get in the time machine. Let's go. Let's get back to 2007. Why did everything change? Why did the world shift? The iPhone came out. This was probably the biggest disruptor in terms of technology that we had seen in the past few decades. Sure, the internet and its gradual evolution to what it is today was something we all experienced collectively, but in just 1 year, we all started to have computers in our pocket. We started carrying the internet with us. We all know the effects that this had. I mean, there's even been smaller effects. Look at the decline of chewing gum sales from when the iPhone launched to about 2017. It declined because we were no longer staring at all of those enticing items at the grocery store checkout. We had our computer with us, we had our iPhone, so we always had that distraction. And it's affecting the advertising landscape. Mobile advertising is increasing every year, and it's going to end up outpacing desktop ad spending just by next year. So really, this changed everything. This changed everything. It also changed how we think about marketing. Instead of wondering if people are going to encounter your marketing, we know that they're actually going to be served directly to them. I love this quote from Seth Godin, who is that big marketing guru that sort of started by saying he's a marketing guru, and he's probably in all of our inboxes right now. But I really want to mention this quote, and that selling to people who actually want to hear you is more effective than interrupting strangers that don't. I love this quote because it in essence describes the strategic power of considering targeted advertising directly to consumers as opposed to directly to market. So what we're going to talk about today are the limits of traditional marketing, just a quick little tour through where we were, but we're going to talk about where we're going and where we are now, which is the benefits of digital marketing and targeting. We're going to bust some myths, and we're going to talk about a few realities, which is always an exciting part. If we have time, I would love to show you a few examples of this work that we have done that I'm able to share with you, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end where you can grill me as hard as you want. So let's talk about traditional marketing just for a second. I know we're all familiar with it, but let's kind of talk about some of the philosophical limitations behind it. When we say traditional marketing, we typically think of this suite, right? We think about our print ads and newspapers and magazines. We think about broadcasts, from broadcast TV to cable to radio. Direct mail, believe it or not, is still really a big thing. We have catalogs, postcards, all the mailers that we get. Telemarketing, which I know we all adore, and then outdoors, so billboards and flyers. But there's a really big limitation that's just right off the bat pretty obvious. It's timing. If we're going to one of these traditional placements, we just don't have a lot of control about timing. We basically have a predetermined placement, a predetermined time in many cases, and we broadcast to as many people as possible, and we sit and we wait and we hope that the party on the other side has actually encountered the ad and that maybe they're going to lead to consideration and the conversion. So the real drawback of this, though, with a predetermined slot or a predetermined placement is that once a campaign launches, we can't really update it very quickly. But there's also an even bigger limitation, which is cost. And this is a really important term that I want us to understand, and it's called CPM. You guys probably have heard this before if you're really involved in media buying, and that's the cost to reach 1,000 people. And you can really apply it to any form of advertising, traditional or digital. How many people are going to see it? Sometimes it's put into impressions, but CPM is a critical metric. And so when you look at our traditional outlets, you can see the CPM for each one as a broad average. How much does it cost to reach 1,000 people? Billboard, about $5. Newspaper starts getting a little higher, around 16. And then direct mail is surprisingly the most expensive at about like $57. But you really start thinking about print production, you think about all of the tactics involved in getting in people's mailboxes, it does sort of make sense. And then of course, TV still about $28. And if you've ever done any TV, you know how that really, really adds up. $2.50 is typically what you pay digitally to reach 1,000 people. So already, if we were just to look at this, it's sort of a no-brainer in terms of the logic about how cost-effective it is with your ROI. We also think about our limitation with traditional advertising. We think about how little we can really target in a customized way. And so if you put out a billboard, you can hope that your target audience is driving by or hoping that maybe they're seeing the TV spot you produced, but you really can't target down to the individual consumer level, right? It can only help but so much to broadcast your message. So this is often called push advertising because we're pushing it out to as many people as possible and hoping that the product or service that we're advertising reaches them. Interaction is another huge thing. When you put up a print ad or you put up a billboard or run a TV spot, we always have a call to action, right? Telling people what to do. But we don't really have that two-way street, right? We don't have the dialogue that can occur when we start attracting a potential customer. We just hope that they take that call to action as opposed to really being the one to initiate the conversation. And so when we look at all of these limitations, we can really see why these outlets are in decline. This is just some recent statistics. TV advertising last year saw a decline of 18%. Sales were down just 12% in print and radio, which we all know is on life support right now in some ways, had a 25% decline in ad spend. So guys, the future is here. We often try to look at digital supplementing or enhancing our traditional advertising, but it's looking more and more that digital is really going to be our main outlet. And there's so many benefits and reasons why, right? I mean, when we think about the whole suite of things that we can do online, we've got search engine optimization and marketing, really making Google work for us and even getting premium and trying to make sure that we're number one and number two on those search results. Content marketing, the stuff I do every day, little miniature documentaries, little video pieces, things that don't necessarily feel like a direct sales tool, but rather something that has some sort of inherent entertainment value that's sort of in disguise because it actually is a sales tool. Affiliate marketing and influencer marketing has never been bigger. Getting big brand ambassadors or opinion leaders in your area to kind of tout and sing your praises for your organization. And then we also, of course, have email marketing, which we all do. And we all read all the newsletters that we get, right? Right? Okay. So what we're going to talk about today, because each one of these could be its own multi-hour presentation, is social media marketing. And so when we think about the benefits of this compared to traditional advertising, we have complete control over timing, right? We don't have to make leaps of faith. And so instead of broadcasting our message, we're really narrow casting it to people that are already interested or a stakeholder in our cause. Think back to that quote at the beginning. We're not interrupting strangers. We're going directly after the people that we're interested to. So we don't have that finger crossing. If something is working in an ad campaign, we know right away. And most importantly, especially if you make a typo, all this stuff can be updated and removed instantaneously. I had a friend have a typo on a billboard one time, and I'm pretty sure she's still recovering from like the dozen or so heart attacks she had that day. So with digital, we don't have to worry about that. But cost, guys, we already talked about this. The ROI is almost always cheaper than traditional marketing. And so we're paying based on performance. We're not based on potential. You know, sometimes when I'm trying to determine if we're going to do a magazine ad, they're like, okay, we have this massive distribution list of 75,000 people. You're going to be seen by 75,000 people. Sure, that's the amount of people that are going to get the magazine, but how many are actually going to look on page 15 to see your ad? We just can't guarantee that. We can't track that. And so for digital space, one of the things that I think all of us really enjoy is that we're only paying on actually reaching people, not the potential to reach people. So we're just not guessing anymore. But we also have targeting. And this is where we're going to kind of start getting into territory that I'm really excited to sort of dive into. We're all marketers now, right? And so we get complete control over who we see our ad based on demography, based on interest, personality types, and where people are and where they've been. And so this allows us to, knowing that we're reaching on a person-to-person level, direct open lines of communication. We can have that dialogue with the end user in a way that we couldn't when in the traditional sphere. This also basically is like market research because we can understand the sentiment of our end users based on how they're responding to our ads. Not to say you don't need a market research company though, I need to make that really clear. And so let's really talk about the big one. Let's talk about Facebook, because Facebook actually is a vertically integrated social media oligarchy, right? They've got the Facebook platform, they've got Facebook Messenger, they have Instagram, and what a lot of people don't realize is that they actually own WhatsApp too. So it's very hard to be on social media and not encounter this in some way. And it's no surprise that the advertising marketplace on Facebook is absolutely staggeringly large now. There was estimated to be $95 billion in global ad revenue just on Facebook and those corresponding platforms. So this is absolutely staggering compared to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when it was called the Facebook and you had to get an invite to it and it was really exclusive and everyone on MySpace was like, why would we ever go to that? Now it is the premier advertising platform in the world next to Google. Typically, if I could see you all, I would ask this type of question, but we all know the answer. How much does it cost to join Facebook? What do we pay to sign up? Nothing, zero. It couldn't be easier to sign up, actually, considering the power of the platform. But there's an old phrase that I always think about, kind of an old adage in advertising, is that if you're not paying, you're not the customer, you're the product. And this is truly the case with Facebook. What Facebook doesn't need to serve, what Facebook needs to serve is not necessarily you, making sure you can stalk all your friends' vacation pictures. It actually is serving the advertisers and what they are giving to them in exchange for $95 billion worth of ad spend is access to you, access to everything about you. This creeps us out a little bit. And so I kind of want to just talk about some myths and realities associated with these cold hard facts. Because look, guys, who hasn't said this, right? I would ask you all to raise your hands if you have ever thought this, but I already know you're already raising them. Facebook is listening to me, y'all. I was talking with a friend and I mentioned this one thing, and 5 minutes later, I am seeing it appear in my feed. How could they not be recording? I never visited the website. I never visited this business. How could this be happening? There's no way that they aren't listening to me. But they really, really aren't, guys. They really, really aren't. Look, of course they would say this, right? Of course they would say this, right? Why would they? Their business and their $95 billion of ad revenue at stake, why would they do something nice like being perfectly honest to you? But the fact of the matter is they really are. I mean, can we trust Zuck? I don't know. But in this one instance, we really, really can. In fact, Northeastern University did a study about this, right? Because despite Facebook saying they don't, everybody's like, yeah, right, I'll believe it when I see it. So what they did is they tested 17,000 apps and 8,000 apps that can actually send their data to Facebook that kind of tie into that advertising ecosystem. A ton of these apps had permission to use your phone's camera and microphone, but literally none of them were found to be sending audio files anywhere. And the fact of the matter is this is a technical limitation, even with 5G really, really blowing the door off about how fast our mobile phones can be, is that if they were to do constant audio surveillance, this would use 33 times more data than Facebook currently uses. So this would be using a very noticeable amount of data on your mobile device. It's like, that's interesting. Look at this 10 gigs. I completely went over my data plan and I can't really see why. It's really, really, truly the case that if they were to use your phone as kind of like an FBI-esque wiretap bug, we would notice it. And it wouldn't be in the form of an ad feeling eerily precedent to something that you just said. But we hate this. We hate this. I'm sure a lot of you that have heard this are like, yeah, right, but I know they're listening. And I sometimes have had that same feeling. And it's a hard fact to accept when we see these ads, because we're individuals. There's nothing that a person likes more than being reduced in some way, to put into a box or be like a trading card where it's like, here are my bona fides, here are my key interests, and I'm really just this very two-dimensional thing, as opposed to this complex human being with a soul and all of the experiences that have made us who we are. When we see this stuff, we feel manipulated. We feel like it violates our critical thinking. But if we really break it down, we are making it easy for them. We are giving them all the information that they need to form a cohort and a profile for us. As unique as we are, if you were to combine every single one of the factors of your life, from everything listed here, the stuff that you give Facebook, to the places that you go, to who your family members are, your friends, your interests, you really would be surprised when you take 1,500 or 3,000 different factors of a single person, how easy it is to really understand how much they might be like another person that has so many of those similar factors, what you have in common with each other. We have more in common with each other than we do differences. So we make it easy by giving them just some of the information. You got to sign up and let them know your birthday at least. You got to like a few pages. You got to understand, how much time that you spend on the platform or what device you're using, what videos you watch. But there's other ways that they also build these profiles for each of us. One thing is really just what we do on Facebook. So what pages we like, what we comment on, what some of our friends like and comment on, how long we might even watch a video, and even where we go, the places that we check in, the events that we say we're interested to but have no intention of going, which is what's happened to my band show every single time. And even just seeing what device you might be using and how long, Facebook's going to track that. And they're going to factor it into what ads you see. But it's not just that. Facebook has so many partners across the internet, and you end up on a customer list. They're going to match ad data based on that list if that company uploaded it to Facebook. So you sign up for a newsletter for something, maybe just to get the 10% off code like I always do, you are going to likely then be used for their corresponding Facebook ads. If you go into a store and you have your Facebook enabled mobile device, they're going to say, hey, you're interested in this brand. But look at even other websites. It's going to do the very same thing. And then, of course, location. So where you connect, where you use your phone, and where you even say you are. It's really, really sophisticated because not only can they tell where you are, but they can actually predict where you're going. And so Facebook even has shadow profiles for people that actually aren't even signed up for it. So they can already have some of your information. So the second that you sign up, you're already going to have a custom ad profile starting to be developed behind the scenes. I mean, it can go even as far, and this isn't widely publicized, that they can even see like metadata of photos. So if two people took the same picture or were at the same beach and took pictures like 25 feet apart, the artificial intelligence can determine that they were at the same location. Maybe not necessarily to serve you ads, but rather to get more intelligent and smarter about the common elements of who we are and where we go. Your data is for sale, guys. I mean, we know this even outside of Facebook, right? All the credit reporting agencies like Equifax, some of our best friends, these great credit agencies that are so good for society, they sell their data. Grocery stores, when you sign up for that loyalty program at Kroger or Publix, you are basically giving your information not to them, but to quite a few other people as well. How do we know this? I know this every single day. When I get a call from somebody trying to talk to me about extending my car's warranty that I've never even had in the first place. And even when we tell them, please stop or press 2 to remove us from their call list, we know they don't. We know they don't. So when you combine all of this stuff, it really can feel kind of Truman Show-y, if you all have seen that movie, where everything and everyone is seemingly built to manipulate you or pull the strings like you are some sort of marionette. But I'm really here to say, do not panic. It's so easy to get swallowed up in this huge paradigm shift. It's only been 2007 when the iPhone came out that we start getting this hyper sophisticated level of tracking. And so what I'm encouraging you to do is actually understand how your data is leveraged so that then you can leverage your understanding to marketing your business. So what a lot of people, and really a surprising amount of people don't know, is that you can control the ads that you see. You can go and see what ads have been served to you. You can go and see why you were served those ads. The easiest is if you see an ad on Facebook and Instagram, just clicking the little 3 dots and saying, why am I seeing this ad? you'll see a few factors about, okay, you visited this page, you have friends that like this, or we believe that you fit into these advertising cohorts. The cool thing is that you can actually go and manage these. I was planning on showing you a quick tour of this, but due to all the technical problems, I think I'm not going to do that. But let me just let you know this, is that if you go into your settings on both the Facebook app and on the Facebook desktop app, you just have to click settings and privacy and then add preferences. What you're going to see is a couple of different categories. You're going to see the type of info that you've given them, your name, your employer, all of that type of boilerplate stuff. But if you dive a little bit deeper, you can see your interests and behaviors. And so if you pull up your interest list, you will see is thousands and thousands of different factors. Some of them make 0 sense. So for mine, if I pulled it up right now, you would probably see Fender guitars. You would see IMDb because I'm always going there. You would see things like Amazon, where I shop. You would see certain bands I like. You would also see really strange things. I was sharing with Priscilla yesterday, one of my interests is Vikings. Not the TV show, just Vikings in general. What's up with that? Crafting is one of them. I have literally never crafted a single thing in my life. I mention these because when you really look at it, you'll see, yes, you know what, they're right about this, they're right about this, they're right about this, they're wrong about this. And so it's not this inherently perfect system, but you can see how it can take these seemingly disparate factors and then create a profile for who you are, things that you like, things that you don't like, where you've been. All of these come into play. And so as you learn through Facebook ad preferences, settings, privacy and security, ad preferences, you can then start to think about how this might apply to your business and how you can use the data that now you understand to target your potential customers. There's so many different strategies you can use for this, though. It's not just, okay, let's just get our ad out. That would just be brand awareness, right? Let's get our name, our title, our website, our video, whatever, our page, just to as many people as possible. You can do that. Or if you want to get more specific and get people further down your marketing funnel, you can pay a little bit more and reach users that already might be on the fence of converting. You can do customer service. So many new products and organizations are switching their customer support, customer inquiry service to Facebook Messenger. You can do this for basically any size business now, and it's remarkable how much more engagement you'll get than just putting the obligatory contact form on your website. I see contact forms sometimes and I'm like, okay, yeah, no one will ever get back to me. You message somebody on Facebook, it's already in this more natural dialogue. So you can use that as the basis for your ad platform. If you want to get specific website visitors, drive traffic just for your site and making sure that the people actually stick around, that can be one of your objectives. Or if you just want to try to foster a relationship to get your content out there so you can start a dialogue, you can do that as well. And so Facebook actually lays these out as capital A, capital O ad objectives. If you were to start a Facebook ad, you can get really, really specific about how you want it displayed on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp. So we already talked about this. It could just be increasing awareness, or it could be like, hey, we need to make sure that everybody in this town, at the very least, knows that we're here. We don't need them to come visit. We just opened. We don't need them to go to our site. We just want to make sure that they know that we're a presence in this community. You can also, if you want to go a little bit deeper, consider consideration. So it's, okay, I made this marketing video. I really think it's a good introduction to our company. I need to make sure that the people that watch a lot of videos and watch more than the first 5 seconds, or maybe even those rare people that turn the sound on, let's make sure we're getting just in front of those people. Or let's reach people that have a history of liking and commenting on posts, which is engagement right here. You know, there's certain users that are just always there, always commenting. Just look at local news sections to see the same 5 people starting arguments every single time. Those people are the folks you want to go after if you're doing an engagement-based ad. So you can really think, okay, do I want a lot of comments on this? Because if you do, it's going to increase your visibility of the page. But sometimes you want to just get leads. you want to make sure like, okay, I don't need people just to see that we're here. I need people to actually buy what I'm selling. You can go after just those users that Facebook has determined are willing to go the extra mile to actually make a purchase. I do this all the time. I don't know why it's always at like 1 a.m. Weird, right? And then of course, messages are a really big and growing thing. You can actually pay to play and start having conversations with your potential customers. Conversion takes it an even step further. So if you want people to go to your site, but to download a specific white paper, or if you want them to add something specific to their cart, you can drill down to that granular level and track their behavior on the site. We've all seen that before of like, hey, you know what? You've got items in your shopping cart that you totally weren't intending on buying, but I'm just here to remind you, you totally could. You can find out about how to leverage all of these different objectives by first understanding your audience. You can Google it just right after this presentation or even during it. If I'm boring you already, type in Facebook audience insights. You're going to be able to, within a few clicks, create a targeting cohort, create a profile of all of the demographic interests and geographic targeting that you want, and then combine with the ad objectives that I mentioned to you, create a campaign that is strategically rooted in getting you the most bang for your buck. Unlike a traditional campaign, this one not only lets you refine your audience, but also refine what you're asking them to do. The most powerful one of these, and the one that I'm going to talk about just in a more long form way, is geo-targeting. Advertising based on location is really probably from a local business or a local causes standpoint, something that you really want to leverage, even if you're leveraging some of the other ad objectives, because you can drill down to a country, a region, a city, a neighborhood, or even just your business. You can drop a pin. There are limitations to this. You cannot do this for housing related ads because of protected classes and avoiding discrimination. You also really can't do this type of targeting for credit or employment too much. This is a good thing overall. But targeting really has a couple of different facets to it. There are a couple of different ways that you can do it. One is everybody in their location. So this would allow you to reach anybody whose home or their most recent location is within the area that you prescribe. So this could be like sporting events or concerts. Messages kind of for everybody. You know what I mean? If you really want to make sure like, hey, this band is playing in this venue, for example, so they're going to serve it to the people whose home is there, because that's going to be what most of the audience is. But if you're trying to just make sure that it's people that live there, this will validate by IP address and then even look at a person's network of friends to say, okay, even though their location says Richmond, Virginia, we can guarantee that they actually are. So if it's a local retail store, if it's a political campaign, or like a construction announcement, you would want to do that to assure that you're only really reaching the homeowners and residents of an area compared to a college student that might be there temporarily or somebody that comes and visits family there, because that's what people in recently in this location is for. So if you've got like a time sensitive sale, for example, and it's somebody like you're in a retail store, you want to go after people that were just there, the people that already are stakeholders, because you can say in their minds like, oh, whoa, I was actually just at that store a few days ago, and now they've got this product I was looking for and it wasn't there when I was shopping. Let me go back. Nearby of businesses, recurring events. So just to use a concert again, which I hope to go to one day, you remember them, is like, hey, you've been to a couple different shows at this venue. So it would make sense for us to serve you ads since you go there all the time. People traveling in this location is a really, really cool one, because there's certain things that you want to highlight for people that are just visiting. The hospitality industry is a great example of one. You don't need to reach the people that have homes in that area. If you're a rental car place, you don't need to reach people who live there most likely. So you can say, hey, make sure that you're targeting people that are 125 miles from where they actually say their home location is, or where their IP address from their desktop is, or where their phone might say where they are now. This is a really cool one, and I'm going to show you an example about how we use this later on. These are really effective because they have a sort of natural quality compared to some of the other placements. We talked about how all the interest and behavior-based targeting is sort of that trading card effect of like, oh my gosh, how do they determine I would like this or not? We're usually not that freaked out to see the logic behind, hey, we were just at this place and now I'm getting an ad for it because I was just there. So you get that relevancy of, hey, they're speaking to me when I need it most. But if you combine this with retargeting, you've really, really got a very strong sort of 360 loop. You guys have probably heard this before, and it's probably something every single one of us has experienced. This is when someone visits your website. So if you have a storefront, it would be buying something. The Facebook pixel, the small little piece of code that you put in the header of your website, is triggered and reports that action. Or if it's just, hey, this person clicked the read more link, or this person looked at this blog, all of these things can trigger and fire this pixel. And so you'll know when a customer took action based on seeing your ad. So you can greatly enhance the relevancy to your customers because you already know what they're doing and what they're looking for on your site. And so then you will get that ad. And so you can combine this with all of the other stuff like, okay, this person not only visited my site and added something to their cart, but they're also a person that liked and shared my last post, or they've watched most of my videos. You can create all of these cohorts. So you're just reaching your power players, your VIPs, the folks that are already invested in your product. And so when you use retargeting, you're making sure that they can never forget, sometimes to an almost annoying level, if you really don't want to buy the thing from your 1 a.m. Shopping spree. It'll keep reminding you about your decision until you eventually say, hide this ad. So I got a few more minutes here before the Q&A, and I kind of wanted to give you a few examples of some of the work that we have done and show you how we've leveraged some of just some basic targeting principles to really great results. I'm going to talk about what we did for the city of Richmond. I'm going to talk about what we did for Chesterfield County, and then I'm going to talk about everybody's favorite organization in the whole state, maybe the world, DMV. The reason I'm going to talk about these are all public sector clients. This information is out there. And also none of them had any experience really with social media marketing in this kind of way. So they worked with SAR to not only see the presentation you're seeing now, but really develop a strategy and a platform to grow. And so these were all sensitive topics. We needed public comments, we needed participation, and we also had to make sure that we're supplementing the traditional stuff they were doing, like TV spots or newspaper ads, but knowing we just didn't have the massive budget. And the most important thing when you're dealing with organizations that typically get a little bit of flack is avoiding the, well, I didn't hear about this factor, which is what a lot of public entities have to face when it's time to interface with the public. So for the city of Richmond, I don't know if you all have been in Richmond recently, but we recently, within the past couple of years, got a new BRT bus system. It is amazing. It's a game changer for our town, and it really increases mobility options for the downtown area. I'm a huge, huge fan. The folks that really weren't fans right away were the businesses that were disrupted by about a year and a half of orange cones and constructions along Broad Street, our most critical corridor in the whole region. And so as much as everyone was excited about how the bus would bring more people and increase just the viability of our city, these businesses were worried that their storefronts were going to be blocked, that parking was going to be taken away. And so the city hired us to do a construction mitigation campaign that was just designed to make sure that the city of Richmond supported our neighbors, supported our local businesses when they needed it most, of knowing that we're open for business even during this very visible and very disrupted construction. And so what we wanted to do is we looked at our ad objectives, going back to a few slides ago, and we said we need to make sure that this video that we're making that encourages them to keep going to their favorite stores and restaurant is seen by as many people as possible, avoiding that, well, I didn't hear about this factor. So we set our ad objectives to awareness and maximizing our video views. Our secondary objective, which was sort of the link that was beneath the video, was getting people to go to our website and sign up for our email list. Were all of those actions tracked via the Facebook pixel? You bet they were. And once we had that data, we combined it with this other data. People that typically watched videos on Facebook that were in town, we're going to serve it to them. If people are interested in any of the cultural elements, all of the restaurants, all of the art galleries, all of the bars, all the venues, all the stores, then we're going to serve ads to them. We're going to make sure all of the schools that are along the corridor from, the public elementary, middle, and high schools to VCU, to VSU, to VCU Medical Center, everything, we're going to target and drop pins at each one of those places to make sure that everyone along this corridor that might get disrupted are going to see it. So we made 2 videos, and they were huge success. Because in the limited budget that we spent, which was $1,000, about $500 for both videos, we had 95,300 video views within just 1 month. So going back to our objective, which is making people could see this message, that they could see that the city was making an effort to remind our citizens to support their neighbors' businesses, this was a huge success. For Chesterfield County, we had a little bit of a different project, but it's sort of related to transit. There is an area on US Route 1 here in Richmond that historically hasn't had any transit service, that was a little bit looked over as our city grew and expanded, and as we started to reconsider where buses can and should go. And so what we wanted to do was do a sentiment analysis, a research project led by us and supported by the county to find out whether people wanted this, how they would use it, what kind of communications they would need, and any other factors about how they could start using this service, considering they've never had it before. So we put together a survey, and we put together a few little just pieces of ad collateral, videos, photos, and we targeted just by the zip code of this corridor. And we reduced the size down to about 5 miles. So you would only really see the people that were in the immediate vicinity of who would likely be using this bus. And we really fenced it off to make sure that people to the north and to the south of the specific corridor would not be seeing the ads, because that would be a waste of our money. And we don't want to have people that don't live in that area taking this survey. So our primary objective was website or landing page clicks. That was the ad objective, capital A, capital O, the Facebook ad objective that we use. So we are providing a direct link to the survey. And so we had a limited budget. We had about $1,000. And we also had a secondary objective. And this is kind of the same for most ads, is we wanted to see the sentiment of the people seeing these. Are they angry? What kind of reactions are they leaving? What kind of comments are they leaving? So we kind of had this little built-in anecdotal, unscientific research component built in. And believe me, when you're asking for public opinion, you guys know this, you're going to get some opinions. But we actually were able to use those in the end. And so it was helpful. But our main goal was getting people to take the survey. And so we ended up serving 49,447 people. And so this ended up going a little bit over the amount of people that we really wanted to reach. But it was great because even though our net was a little bit wider than we had hoped, because geofencing sometimes isn't an exact science, we were able to serve to those people 151,000 impressions. So each person saw the ad about 3 times, which is really good for retention. And wow, we had 3,857 link clicks. So we were paying about 20 cents per click to the website. We had the most amount of survey responses in this type of survey that we have ever seen. It was wild. How many completes, and we had a few incompletes, but compared to just kind of posting a link on the county's page or putting it buried in their newsletter, this got people participating. And it had a ton of engagement, maybe some of the most the county had ever seen, with 270 total reacts on this one ad. And so this wasn't even the shared versions of the ad. So this was a really, really big success. The last one, and this is my last point here before we switch to questions, is do you all remember we were talking about Real ID as a country a few years ago? The idea that we would have the standard form of identification that you would have to go into the DMV to go through this complicated sort of registration process and then get the little star on your ID so that you can travel domestically and internationally. People weren't pumped about this. I get it, but we needed to make sure people knew about this. So we had 6 million total people in Virginia over the age of 18. We needed to make sure they knew about this. So what we did is we did 2 different ad objectives. One is to get people to go to the actual DMV website about this and optimize it for people that would actually click, people that have a history of clicking ads. And then we also had another ad set that was just awareness. Hey, let's get this message out there that this is coming and that you need to know about it. Don't worry, it's since been delayed. So what we did is we created a couple different buckets. One was geo-targeting. We knew that military bases were going to require this this type of ID. So we geo-targeted specifically Virginia's military bases. Then what we also did was target the airports. What more relevant audience could you have for something like this than people that are actually in the airport traveling? So that was geo-targeted as well. Then we did interest and behavior targeting, people whose Facebook likes and interests implied that they are the type of person that makes trips, that travels, that shops around for different travel deals, that has traveled in the past few months, that has friends and family that travel. All of these things were combined. So a mix of geo-targeting and interest and behavior targeting. And it was huge. We had 4 million impressions. We had 25,000 visits to the website. So 25,000 people that could start doing this application. And we reached 899,000 people. And this was all in 2 months. And so when we look at our CPM, our cost to reach 1,000 people, we're at $3.11, which is still below every single one of the traditional advertising efforts that they were also using. So we did this sort of once as an experiment, but then we were hired again and again because this actually works. And so we reached about 14% of all of those eligible applicants. And so with an ad frequency of about 4.47, we knew that people could not fairly say, even if they were very, very angry about it, that they hadn't seen this, that they did know about this. One thing that we did find, and what we corrected in a future campaign, was that you can max out targeting groups. Is that you don't want people to see your ad like 5, 6 times, 4 even might be pushing it for some campaigns, not this one because it was so important. So going back to one of those benefits is that we were able to make adjustments in real time to this so that we weren't just showing the same ads to the same people. You can do this too. But our click-through rate was higher than most of the industry averages. You know, it may not seem that a 0.90% click-through rate is very good, but it's actually much, much higher than most of the industries out there. So this was a huge success for us. So in closing, and I apologize for some of the technical errors today, the point I want to make the most is I know this was a really broad overview. I know we just scratched the surface. And I know a lot of you probably have heard a lot of this stuff before. But what I want the main takeaway to be is that if you understand how your data is being used, if you can understand that there really isn't a mystery behind why you've been served in ads, if you can understand why it only feels like you're being listened to and that you actually aren't being listened to, if you can get a grip on this, you can then leverage these incredibly powerful tools to reach your customers, no matter what sector you are in. And so I just have to say, take control of your data and leverage your understanding to market your business.
Coldon, thank you. We have one question, and it's from our team, actually, so I'll go ahead and ask it. It's, what do you think of Facebook analytical tools to boost promotion for a post?
Facebook analytic tools are kind of now in a sort of strange ether, right? And each situation is a little bit different. But one thing that Facebook has done is created a new thing in the past year called Facebook Business Manager. And what it allows you to do is really see what they call page insights. I think their previous analytics tools actually being folded into this, and it's very good. However, it really, I found, is very limited in terms of seeing everything that you have ever done in the past. It's usually the most sort of immediate things, and you're only given a fraction of the type of data it's actually storing. So while there's the Facebook analytics tool, the real meat, the real data is within Facebook Ads Manager. There you are going to see, I mean, 100 plus ways that you can hash the data, whereas the most of the typical analytics tool that are either within the Facebook app or on the desktop app, like if you go to your page and select Page Insights or Business Manager, you're going to see some, but Ads Manager is where the deepest level of understanding is. The only problem is you have to actually do some ads for that. And so boosted posts count for that as well. So diving into the Ads Manager as opposed to like the Pages Manager is where the real analytics lie. They're very, very, very good. It's just a matter of understanding how they try to impress you first. So for example, video views, you can go and see this crazy amount of video views for something that you posted. You'll see like, wow, we actually had 3,000 video views on this thing that we posted the other day. If you go and look at how many of them are actually complete, you get 3-second views, 5-second views, 15-second views, the whole thing, then you really know what actually went down. And so without knowing exactly what you're talking about, I would just have to say that Facebook's analytics are accurate, but they require a level of finesse and detail to not just be wowed at the top number. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, Coldon. Thank you very much. You've given us a lot to think about. Karen Kwasny says this was fantastic and she'd love to review it more closely, and she's asking if we will have the recording. Yes, Karen, we will post the recording on our website with the article. So that'll be up later today. So Coldon, do you have any other last minute pearls of wisdom to share?
I think you guys are probably sick of my monologue at this point, but I will say I just have a lot of gratitude for being able to give this talk. Like I said, I'm based in Richmond most of the time, but my family is in the 757. So much of our work is there, and I'm so glad to finally be speaking to someone besides the folks that I see every day. And so SIR is going to be doing a few more of these. And so I'm excited for you to get to know a little bit more about our company. And if you have any specific questions about this kind of stuff, my email is my name, coldon.martin@sirhq.com. Shoot me a line. I'm happy to give this presentation to your group. Or if you want to dive in further or have specific questions, just let me know. I'm really excited to get to know you all more. So thank you.
Thank you, Coldon. And when we go back to live events, I love your energy. So we'll definitely bring you in when we go back to live chamber education. Our next virtual chamber education is coming up. The date's not on here. It is coming up. The topic is, are we good or just lucky? How to affect the culture within your organization, leadership, team behaviors, and processes. And that will be presented by David Burnham. He's the Chief Executive Officer for Kalu International, which just won our Virginia Beach Small Business of the Year for 2021. And Leanna, if you can just pop on real fast and just tell us the date for that next chamber education.
Yes, so that will be on Tuesday, July 20th.
Okay, thank you, Leanna. Coldon, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. If people have questions coming up and they think of them later when they're running their errands or something, they can shoot them to either me or to Liana, and we can get them to Coldon. And like I said, hopefully in the near future, we'll go back to live events. We are still looking for a sponsor for our chamber education series. So if anybody knows of a company that is really enjoying these wonderful bits of expertise that our chamber members are sharing, we've got great turnout. We've got 60, 70 people on all of these, and so it's a good way to market your business as well. So let us know if you're interested in that, and we will see you all virtually Tuesday, July 20th. Coldon, thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.